There better be exactly 3 billboards. Not one, not two, but 3. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. What a very specific and descriptive title. Like, this title, is just very descriptive. It just tells you exactly what you're, I guess, expecting to see. But I have no context for this at all, of course. Like, why Ebbing, Missouri? Why are there 3 billboards? What do the billboards say? What is the relevance here? I don't know. Because I know nothing about this movie. But what I do know is that this is part of our end of the month movie week. So, just for those who are new and don't know, at the end of every month, we have a week of movies that we just go from Monday to Friday and have a theme kind of connecting them. We normally do movies every Saturday and Sunday, but during this week it's Monday through Friday instead. No movies on the weekend, just Monday through Friday. And so this month's theme, September's theme, is movies that have numbers in the title. Not like for a sequel or something that says this movie 2 or whatever. No, but actually have a number as part of the title. And so, yeah, 3 is in 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. There you go. So yeah, like I said, I know nothing about this movie. I have never heard of this in any way, shape, or form prior to it being requested. And it was requested by Venom, as usual. Most movies on the channel are, with some exceptions every now and again. So yeah, I don't know what to expect from this one. I don't know what we're getting into. And I'm just hoping that this ends up being good. I don't know anything about it. So I don't really have anything else to say in these pre-thoughts even. I can't even say really much of anything about like thoughts based on the title because it's like it's so specific, so direct, and so descriptive. It's like I assume there's going to be 3 billboards. I assume they're right outside Ebbing, Missouri, and I assume the movie takes place in and around Ebbing, Missouri. Yay. That's not a lot to work off of. It's too descriptive. It's like you have titles for some movies that don't tell you anything, and then you have titles that tell you too much to where it's like, oh, well, that explains one thing, but the rest of the movie, like, I have no context for whatsoever. And so it's like, it's just kind of the opposite problem. So I guess we're just going to get into this, see what we have in store, and hope for the best. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, Martin McDonagh, like, penned and created this film based off of real-life billboards he saw while in the South in the late 90s. He created this film because he saw these billboards that were accusing this man of killing his wife, and the police not doing anything about it. And this inspired him to take up the idea of this story, which this movie came out in 2017. So it took a while to get there, but he did get it made. And Sam Rockwell was always planned. Mildred's actress was always planned to be in it. They were always like the intended cast. I guess everyone else just came along like naturally. But this movie and the billboards, like the sign of the billboards, even the wording of them, have inspired protesters many times since this movie came out. They've inspired multiple protests regarding multiple different topics and have almost become a symbol for fighting against injustice, which the director himself stated that he was proud of. That's the right message to take from this movie. And this is a movie that not only does not have a happy ending, it just doesn't really have an ending. And I feel that's the point. There's a lot of people who would watch this movie and be disappointed by its open-ended finale, not even showing what might have happened in regards to this man who did commit a rape, who they were going to see in Idaho. It left it completely unsure if they were even going to kill him. It left it unsure about who actually raped and killed Angela. Very little was actually resolved in the end. And again, there's a lot of people who dislike when movies do this kind of thing because they feel like, oh, well, that's not satisfying for me as a viewer. I feel left wanting. I feel left disappointed because we didn't get any resolution. There was no justice received for Angela. But that's the point. Sometimes there is no justice received. And for many different reasons. Sometimes the case is just never solved. There's just never enough evidence. And nothing is ever learned that leads the police to being able to resolve the situation. Sometimes it's because of the police themselves being incompetent or not looking into it enough. Sometimes it's something else. And this movie touches on that. For 7 months, this hadn't been resolved because the police just kind of couldn't figure anything out and just didn't look into it anymore. And then once this was brought back to light, nothing could be found out. And even this one lead they thought they had in the end didn't result in anything. The dude had an airtight alibi. This is one of those cases that doesn't get solved. And is that justice? No. Is that okay? No. Is that fair? Abso-fucking-lutely not. And no one with, like, any semblance of humanity would ever claim otherwise. But that's the point. These stories don't always have a happy ending. They don't even always have, like, a legitimate ending to them. And it's not just in this specific example, this is specific crime. It's in a lot of things. And so you have to realize sometimes horrible things happen. And it's not fair and it's not right and they shouldn't. But sometimes it's not going to be resolved. It's not going to have that fairy tale Hollywood ending. What was important about this movie was that Mildred never gave up. Mildred was distraught horribly traumatized by her daughter's rape and murder. And it led her to take action. It led her to erect these billboards, something completely legal, completely valid, to speak out against the police not taking enough action. And it led to a lot of problems. It led to a lot of people hating her, or at the very least, finding issue with her. A lot of people trying to fuck with her. That dentist, my God. Like, he tried to, like, do a tooth removal without, like, numbing her. And then he was like, he like was bringing the drill or whatever close to her mouth. It's like, I've had teeth removed. That's not how they do it. Like, also, he wasn't even, like, examining her properly. He was absolutely taking out his anger at her for, calling out Chief Willoughby because he was friends with Chief Willoughby. He was taking his anger out on her and was actively and intentionally doing his job in an improper way that could cause, problems. Honestly, she would have been in her right to sue him for that. You want to know how they do tooth extraction? Again, as someone who has had this done, they numb you all around the tooth and then they push and pull on it. They have a device that clamps around the tooth and they like really strongly push and pull on it. And because you're numbed, all you really feel is like a notable pressure. You don't feel any pain, but they push on pull and it loosens the tooth from its spot. It loosens everything from it. And they might like go in with some extra tools to help with the extraction, but it's really simple. It's really simple and really easy. The numbing agent, Novocaine or whatever, that's really strong and it really works. And again, I've had this done. I was younger, mind you, but it's really simple and it's like it didn't hurt at all. And I'm averse to pain. So it's like me saying it doesn't hurt at all is like, I mean that. But yeah, it's like he was definitely doing things intentionally wrong to hurt her. And she defended herself. Her, like, the way she did it was pretty crazy. But, like, her doing that to him to drill the hole into his thumbnail was self-defense. And it's like, that seems pretty reasonable considering. So yeah. If you want an example of an unreasonable, unjust reaction to something, look at what Dixon did to Welby, Red. What he did to him was unjust. What he did to him after Willoughby's suicide was, fucked. It was not comparative at all in terms of reactionary action. Also, it wasn't even his fault in the first place, so him going after Red was just not even reasonable in the first place. But I mean, that was also the point of his character, which obviously Sam Rockwell performed amazingly. He's a phenomenal actor. He's great at playing bad guys, but he's also like he did a good job of playing this bad guy who was starting to turn things around. And he wasn't perfect by the end, that much was clear, but he was starting to turn things around. It's just it was a well done character arc. And you see how like her actions going back to Mildred are affecting even like her son and others around her. And then like even like after everything, like there's a little bit of blame that's like launched at her for Willoughby's death, his suicide, even though he, made it very clear in his letter to his wife as well as his letter to her that she was not to blame for this. It was because of the cancer. So, yeah. Also, his letter to Dixon is the thing that really got Dixon to turn his life around in the first place. Um, there's also some other things that weren't resolved in this, like the entire thing with James. Like, I'm really sad about how that ended for him. Because he clearly misunderstood what was going on there. He thought that she was embarrassed to be seen with him. He thought she was like she wanted to go home because like of being there with him in the first place, but no. It was literally because of what her ex said and him admitting to being the one to burn the billboards down. She was angry and upset at that. I feel like really bad for him because he never got any justice in the end either. He never like she never went to him after to explain things, or she never got to tell him the truth, and he just like it was just fucked up. He didn't deserve that. But again, that goes into the nature of this film. There's a lot of characters in this who don't get the justice and happy ending that they deserve. Like, you could even extend that to Willoughby and everything and his family. And all the pain that, like, they were put through because of his suicide. And it's like, you understand why he did it. He explained it well. He didn't want to put them through the pain of seeing him, like, go through that. But, like, and I'm speaking as someone who has been suicidal and attempted it. It's like, I'm speaking as someone who also has a much clearer head now, all these years later, in that regard. It's not going to help matters in that regard. Like, you want to spare them the pain of seeing you go through that, but you're just putting them in a different kind of pain. It's like they're still going to be in pain. But if you were with them, that would at least help. That would at least, like, you would at least be there with them. They would have at least got to say goodbye to you. And again, I can't like I can't fault someone who's suicidal, who is depressed or feels like they would rather end it than, put their loved ones through stuff like that. Because again, I was suicidal. I have literally been there. I understand those feelings all too well. But again, it's also been like over a decade since I've tried to take my own life. And while I still feel depression, while I still have moments of even sometimes wishing I were dead, I have a lot more clarity than I did back then about myself and about my feelings, and I'm a lot more open about my feelings. And I understand that it's like there's an almost peaceful like feeling that you can get with the idea of not having to face that kind of pain anymore, whether it's because of depression or other things going on in the world or in your life, whether it's because of like how your family is seeing you because of illness and whatnot. There's a certain almost freeing feeling the idea of that gives to you, but it's like when you really think about it, it's like it's gonna hurt so many people, And I'm not trying to like shame or like attack anyone who has committed suicide or who has thought about it, because again, I can't rightly do that as being someone who has been through this. But it's like it's not the right move. It's not going to make anything better. Is you're just going to be dead. You're not going to be free, and it's going to hurt people who love you. Like it's better to like seek out help. And while I can't fault anyone for it, I can't condone the idea of that either. And you can you can acknowledge, and I think this is important. You can acknowledge that this kind of thing is horrific and upsetting, and you can be like really distraught by this kind of thing, while also acknowledging that the person may not have always been the best. And I'm saying this because of my statements during the reaction. Both of the You can have a nuanced take on that. Both of those things can exist simultaneously. I I will never condone and I will never lessen suicide or murder. I will never make light of them. I will never treat them as insignificant. But I don't like when people will automatically act like a murder suicide victim was always innocent, because that's not realistic. You can acknowledge someone's faults, you can acknowledge someone's evils and problems, and no matter what level of that they're on, without disrespecting them. It's not disrespectful to acknowledge that someone had problems, or even going as far to say they were a bad person. Um, it's not disrespectful to say that after they have been murdered or committed suicide. It's just acknowledging their downsides, their flaws, their bad actions. You can still feel upset over the fact that they were murdered or committed suicide. That kind of thing will always disturb me. It'll always freak me out. It'll always bother me. Obviously, there's been an example in the news lately with that. I'll not go further into that. But I'll just say it's like I didn't like this person at all. But I was horrified and disgusted by what happened. No one, no one should be murdered like that. And it's like there have been horrible people throughout history who have been murdered or even committed suicide. I mean, it is always the most extreme example to mention, but think about it. Adolf Hitler committed suicide. And I will never cheer for suicide, even for someone as horrifically evil and vile as him. Do I think the world is maybe better without him in it? Oh, absolutely. But I will never cheer for suicide, because that's always like fucked up. I'm getting a little off topic though. The point I'm trying to make is, with Willoughby as a character, it's like I was acknowledging and pointing out his flaws and his flawed actions and reactions. And he was by no means the worst in this. The worst was definitely Dixon. Um Well, okay, the worst was Dixon until this other guy came in, literally admitting to his, I guess, friend that he raped someone. So it's like, yeah, after that guy came in, yeah, Dixon maybe wasn't so bad. Dixon was still bad originally, but by this point he had already begun to change, so, you know. Dixon Dixon at least understood that he had to change who he was, and he at least worked to become better. He actively worked to become better. This other guy, we have no evidence ever would. But Willoughby was a good intentioned person who just said and did some not so good things sometimes. Like Willoughby, I think did have good intent. It's just not everything he said and did was perfect in that regard. Which, I mean, that's in a way being human. And I'll even say, like, as much as I was on her side for pretty much this entire film, I don't agree with Mildred wanting to kill this guy. I don't agree with what Mildred did when she, threw the Molotovs at the police station. Like, I acknowledge that she committed some bad acts during the course of this film. It's just how it is. But honestly, most of her actions in this were justifiable. There were only those few things that weren't. And then again, the thing at the end with the murdering the other rapist guy, we don't even know if that happened. We don't even, like, again, it left it hanging on a cliffhanger, basically. So it's like, I don't even condone all of her actions, and I was on her side in this movie, like, in terms of, like, calling attention to this and all. Trying to actually get this resolved. But it's like, this is a very heavy, dark, and intense film about a very serious subject. And it makes sure that you understand that and don't take it lightly. And I appreciate that. I wouldn't call this like the best film ever. There's some parts that are a bit slow. There's some hang-ups I have with some things that, again, I feel like, even though I understand why they were left hanging and I understand the point of it, it's like I would have liked a little more conclusion with that. Like James, so much. I feel so bad where we left him off at. And it's just, and then on top of it, it's like, I don't know. I just feel like this, it maybe could have been just a smidgen better. It's not like it's bad. It's just not as good as it absolutely could have been. It could have been better. With just a little bit more conclusiveness. Even if we didn't get like a full conclusion for the main case, just a little bit on some other things, maybe. But yeah. I think this was a very tough watch, very tough to think about. Left a lot of heavy subject matter to talk about in these afterthoughts. But I would love to hear your thoughts. So tell me what you thought down in the comments below. And as always, thank you to Venom for donating for this, and thank you to all of you for tuning in. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.